Hi, and welcome to today's Daily Chronicle. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025. Supreme Court leans towards parents who object to LGBTQ books in public schools. The conservative Supreme Court majority seemed more than ready Tuesday to tell public school districts that they must allow parents to pull their kids out of certain classes because the course material conflicts with the parents' religious views. At the center of the case is the school system in Montgomery County, Maryland, the most religiously diverse county in the U.S., with 160,000 students of almost all faiths. Beginning a few years ago, the county, which includes a substantial number of gay and lesbian parents, adopted a curriculum for elementary school students. It aimed at promoting respect for LGBTQ plus parents and their children by including storybooks with gay and lesbian actors. Some parents, however, objected and asked to opt their children out of elementary school classes where the books were included in the curriculum. The schools initially tried to opt out plan, but found it was a logistical nightmare. The religious parents then sued the school board. They asserted that by exposing their children to ideas that conflict with the parents' faith, and thus forcing them to withdraw their children from public school, the board was violating the Constitution's guarantee to the free exercise of religion. The school board won in the lower courts, but the Supreme Court Tuesday, the board got a little love from the court's 6 conservative justices. The leading charge of the religious parents was lawyer Eric Baxter, who got a grilling from the court's 3 liberal justices. Justice Sonia Sotomayor pointed to one of the books that was objectable to some parents, a book called Uncle Bobby's Wedding, about a girl who goes to her uncle's same-sex wedding. Sotomayor pressed Baxter on his argument. So what you're saying is that the exposure of children to the fact that 2 people of the same sex are getting married is coercion, she asked. Baxter's answer was essentially yes. That prompted conservative Justice Samuel Alito to observe that the book was a clear moral message that a lot of people who hold onto traditional religious beliefs don't agree with. Liberal Justice Elena Kagan followed up, asking what rule the court should adopt. Is it your position, Kagan asked, that any time a student confronts something their parents disagree with, they can opt out of the class? Baxter repeatedly declined to say where he would draw the line, prompting Kagan to ask whether this is a rule that applies as well to a 16-year-old in biology. If the parents say, I don't want my child to be there for the classes on evolution or on other biological matters that conflict with my religion. Sotomayor said that she has a whole list of items that conflict with some people's religious views, including biographical material about women who have been recognized for achievements outside of their home, divorce, interfaith marriage, or immodest dress. Indeed, that kind of rule, interjected Kagan, would allow opt-outs for everyone. Justice Amy Coney Barrett pressed Baxter on his failure to draw any line. At what point, she asked, is the school district imposing a burden on religious parents? Is it the mere exposure to ideas or something more? And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson asked whether parents should be free to opt their kids out of a class if a gay teacher keeps his wedding photo on his desk. Representing the school board, lawyer Alan Schoenfield fielded relentless questions from the court's conservatives. Justices Alito Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch were the most vociferous. Justice Kavanaugh noted that he had been raised in Montgomery County, and though he didn't go to public school, he pressed lawyer Schoenfeld as to why opt-outs are not feasible. Schoenfield said that elementary school classrooms are not like a health and sexuality classes, where the state law allows a student to opt out from the whole class. In contrast, in grade school, students operate very differently, he said. They can pull books from the shelves and read them to each other, or ask the teacher about the book. It's mayhem, said Schoenfeld in a moment of candor. And the ability of teachers to manage the line between what is curriculum content coming directly from the teacher and coming indirectly from the sort of socialization in the classroom. I think it's very hard to draw. Justice Alito was not satisfied, repeatedly asking Schoenfeld what his answer is to the concerns of the religious parents. Basically, said Alito, your answer is, it's just too bad. My answer, replied Schoenfeld, is that the school board here is democratically elected. The entire process of adopting this curriculum is open and transparent. The decision in this case is expected by summer. DOGE dismantling foreign aid agency started by George W. Bush. Elon Musk walks to the White House after landing in Marine One on the South Lawn of the U.S. President Donald Trump not pictured on March 9th. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has directed major cuts to the Millennium Challenge Corporation, a foreign aid agency started by George W. Bush. As the Trump administration rapidly dismantled USAID, the United States largest foreign aid agency, the staff at a lesser known but widely praised agency were on edge. The Millennium Challenge Corporation is an independent government agency dedicated to boosting economic growth in low to middle income countries. Started during the George W. Bush administration, MCC has garnered bipartisan support through targeted investments in the private sector. The staff breathed a sigh of relief after a White House official visited the agency in February and basically concluded that MCC was streamlined and well serving its mission. According to the MCC official, who requested anonymity in fear of losing their job, we were feeling confident that maybe MCC would be retained because the model actually speaks to the priorities that the administration put forward, the source said. This week, MCC got a different message. The Department of Government Efficiency has directed major cuts to the agency's staff and the termination of all existing grants. According to the official, we understand from the Doge team there will soon be significant reduction in the number of MCC's programs. And relatedly to the agency's staff, the acting CEO wrote to staff on Tuesday in an email reviewed by NPR. The extent of cuts aren't yet clear. The official said, but could reduce the workforce of roughly 320 to a couple dozen. How MCC works. MCC has invested about $17 billion in 47 countries and since it was launched in 2004. It targets its roughly $1 billion yearly budget toward investments in the private sector, aiming to reduce poverty by boosting economic growth. Current projects include improving Côte d'Ivoire's electrical grid so the country can sell electricity to its neighbors. Modernizing Nairobi's bus transit system and improving rural roads in Zambia to make it easier for farmers to get their produce to the market. To qualify for grants, countries have to meet certain standards by instituting political reforms, including fighting corruption to ensure the money is spent effectively. Before the countries get selected, they have to prove they're worthy of contribution. By fighting corruption, by investing in women and children, by honoring the marketplace, said George W. Bush in a speech last year marking the 20th anniversary of MCC. There is a partnership with the belief that people can solve their own problems. That's what MCC is all about to me, and the results have been extraordinary. MCC is consistently ranked as one of the most transparent development organizations in the world by Publish What You Fund. an organization that advocates for aid transparency, in part because MCC publishes rigorous analysis of their program. MCC is the only aid agency in the world that targets poor countries with good policies, helps countries choose the most growth-promoting investments through rigorous analysis, and funds the investments in ways that do not build unsustainable debt. Nancy Lee, Director of the Sustainable Development Finance Program at the Center for Global Development, who was previously Deputy CEO of MCC, said in a statement to NPR, "Why destroy a model that has a 20-year track record of success?" DOGE representatives arrived at the agency, which is located in Washington, D.C., on April 14th, quickly gaining access to internal systems and data. The MCC official said a week later, they recommended that MCC be reduced to the statutorily required minimum and that all existing contracts be terminated. According to the source, DOGE did not articulate reasons for the cuts. The contrast with how the Trump administration publicly rationalized its cuts to USAID, citing fraud, abuse, and programs not aligning with priorities. The MCC officials said DOGE officials had not shown any interest in understanding the work of the agency and were strictly focused on making cuts. The White House did not respond for requests of comment. A relatively small budget. MCC's annual budget is about $1 billion, comparatively a small size of the nearly $7 trillion federal budget. And through that, we create opportunities for economic growth in our partner countries, which ultimately creates the markets for American exporters. That's MCC's value for America, along with other returns. The MCC official said, "Losing MCC would mean losing a model of foreign aid that's demonstrated clear benefits for recipient countries and the U.S., said James Mazzarella. A former official at MCC who also worked at the National Security Council during the first Trump administration. In all the countries that MCC partners with, the U.S. government has had a tremendous role of influence and goodwill, said Mazzarella. He points to an early project in Ghana, where MCC partnered with the local government to improve road infrastructure. Ghana named a resulting highway after then former President George W. Bush. If the cuts go through, he said, in addition to not having access anymore, we're going to be seen as a country that breaks its word. Our partners made significant, tough political reforms based on our promises, and now they're being left high and dry. After nearly 50 years cooped up inside, Rockalina, the turtle, finds the great outdoors. Rockalina, the eastern box turtle, enjoys the outdoors for the first time in nearly 50 years. Garden State Tortoise founder Chris Leon gets plenty of requests to take in turtles people can no longer care for. Rockalina's case was different. Like we do in any rescue, we ask for photos. And they sent us the photos, and my wife and I, our jaws hit the ground. He told NPR. A young boy found Rockalina, a wild eastern box turtle. While playing near his New York home in 1977. His family took her in, and for nearly 50 years she stayed there. She remained on a slick kitchen floor, eating cat food and occasionally lettuce. The environment wasn't like anything she knew in the wild, where she would have lived near water, based in sunlight, and worn her nails down naturally in the forest terrain, Leon says. Rockalina, the eastern box turtle, when she was first rescued by the Garden State Tortoise. When Garden State Tortoise, a reptile rehabilitation center based in New Jersey, got a hold of Rockalina in February, they worried for her survival. Her skin was discolored and slowing off, her nails were curled and misshapen, and she had even started to grow back into her feet. One leg was in particularly bad shape, and the center worried she would lose it. Her eyes were covered in dead skin, and she couldn't see. Leon posted a video about her to his social media channels, showing viewers her dire condition. A worry that her story could end in tragedy. We felt like we were going to lose her, Leon said. I mean, right away it was like, I don't know about this one, she can't even see. But they took her back to the rehab center and got her in a warm bath to soak, and her recovery began. Within 45 to 50 minutes of her being in warm water, her eyes opened. And you could tell that she was like, where am I? What's going on? Leon said. The eastern box turtle. A male eastern box turtle moves across a path at Wildwood Lake Sanctuary in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, May 2nd, 2009. Rockalina is an eastern box turtle. The brightly colored reptiles were once plentiful throughout parts of the East Coast, scampering around ponds and into people's backyards, but their numbers have dwindled thanks to habitat loss, vehicle strikes, and people taking them as pets, according to the National Park Service. Smuggling is also an ongoing problem for the animals, who have been found in illegal shipments to Asia by the dozen. They are known as box turtles because they can almost completely shut themselves up inside their shells. They live up and down the eastern seaboard, from Maine to Florida, and as far west as Texas. They can live to be over 100 years old, according to the Smithsonian National Zoo. It was a box turtle that inspired Leon to start his reptile center. I was 5. I was playing in my sandbox with my G.I. Joes, and my dad was mowing the lawn. He could have handed me anything that day, but it was a box turtle, and that stuck with me, so I just came enamored with them, Leon said. Rockalina's recovery. From the initial revitalizing soak, Rockalina has made steady progress. Leon and the rescue center's vet gave her an antibiotic in case of infection, fed her lots of food, and trimmed her nails and beak, which is shaped more like a duck's than a turtle's hooked mouth because of her living conditions. Rockalina chows down on a strawberry. It was like this turtle seems to know we're helping her. Immediately, because every single step of the way that we did something, she immediately responded to it, said Leon. She was moved into a habitat that mimicked her natural ecosystem. Decked out with fake logs, a water area, pine needles, and foliage. Finally, in late April, she went outside for the first time in nearly 50 years. She was like, "What is this? This soft grass," and perking up and staring into the sky and cocking her head. Blinking her eyes, Leon said. Rockalina's natural instincts kicked in, and she munched on an earthworm, a promising sign to Leon. Rockalina's nature instincts. It's just one of those moments that, unfortunately, in today's world are rare, where you're like, we're actually seeing a happy ending here, he said. Rockalina's future. It has been less than 3 months since Rockalina was taken in, and despite all her progress, she still has plenty of healing ahead of her. Leon says the back leg they're worried about is undersized, but mending. She'll never look exactly like a wild eastern box turtle. Her beak will always be misshapen, and her color will likely never return to what it was like in the wild. Leon plans to build an outdoor enclosure and keep showing her progress on social media, where many have remained invested in the fate of the scrappy reptile. There's still a lot more of her story that we're going to tell, Leon said.